So let me get into our agendas for today. We're going to get some intros from our speakers here. I'll go ahead and start. SJ here from Justuno. Our main focus at Justuno is on-site experiences and personalizing them with as much info as we can get, or as much of like group effort and thinking around what someone may want to experience in the best way on site. So I'll be speaking from that perspective. And with that, I'll throw it to you, Diane from Tenuity, to give us a little intro.
Thank you. Hey everyone, my name is Diane Manansala. I'm a director here at Tenuity, focused on our SMB and mid-sized growth stage businesses within our growth media division. So what we do is we manage paid media across many verticals with a strong specialization in e-commerce. So think like Google Ads, YouTube, TikTok, Meta, Instagram, all that. And I've been here for about 8 years now. And then before that, I was working in-house for a SaaS event startup. But I'm really excited to share with you all some tidbits of info. So excited to get started.
Killer. I love that Tenuity perspective. Throw it over to you, Brandon from Fulfill Right.
Hi, my name is Brandon Rollins. I'm the Director of Marketing at Fulfill Right. What we do is pretty straightforward. We handle order fulfillment for e-commerce and crowdfunding. And today, what we're going to talk about a lot of is just the offline part of user experience. Once people go to your nice site and see all these recommendations that apply to them, we're going to talk about how you can make sure that your order fulfillment process is maintain that good experience through the whole until the items arrive at the doorstep.
Lovely. Thank you, Brandon. I'll throw it over to you, Jake. Treat.
Hey everybody, I'm Jake, the co-founder and CEO of Treat. We help brands like Girlfriend Collective, Cuts, and Doen grow their business through customer loyalty and decrease their footprints with resale. So essentially help them launch resale programs where their customers can buy and sell items from each other or send them back to the brand, a whole host of things. And my background's been in e-commerce for the past 10 years. I've started different D2C brands. I used to run the launch and sales team at Indiegogo, launching thousands of brands on the marketplace platform. And now I'm really excited to build Treat.
Heck yes, I love what Treat is doing. Resale is like, at least here in Austin, it's such a fun thing. And I like that it's making its way easily into e-commerce. That's great. Katie from Iterable, I'll throw it over to you for an intro.
Awesome. Thank you. Hey, everyone. My name is Katie Burt. I am an enterprise customer success manager, which feels like a mouthful sometimes, but I work for Iterable, where we help brands really reach their users through cross-channel engagement in a highly personalized and real-time fashion. I work with enterprise level brands, and I have actually over 6 years of experience in e-commerce. Previously, I was at an e-com tech company that worked directly with brands that listed major marketplaces. So I feel like I bring a unique lens of understanding the listing process and now the marketing process.
Heck yes, Katie, a straight pro. And I'll throw it over to you, Sarah, for your intro.
Great. Hi, everyone. I'm Sarah Prada, the Senior Partner Manager at Yapo. If you aren't familiar with Yapo, we're a retentioning marketing platform that specializes in consolidating solutions for brands to really increase customer engagement through your loyalty, your reviews, your visual UGC, subscription, referrals, email, and SMS program. So basically everything in one place that allows you to access all the connected data and layers to really tell who your customers are and how to get them to engage again and again and drive more sales and more value from each customer. And we get to partner with a lot of the folks here on the call with integrated solutions like with Treat and Justuno, just to be able to help really scale folks for 2024.
Yes, like a super awesome suite of tools that can be used strategically at every point in the funnel. Thank you, Sarah. Cool. We'll hop into just a quick view of our special offers when you mention this webinar after. So now that you have an idea of who we are, what we're speaking on, I'll show this slide again later, but just to give you an idea of what we can expect later on. And we'll get into our quick agenda here. So based off of amazing questions submitted, just the topic of retention itself and the time of year, we're getting into trends, personalizing, and segmenting with examples and case studies thrown in there too for you to take a peek at. You will get these slides afterwards as well as the recording of the webinar. So you'll have all of these examples to refer back to. So we're going to get right into it today with our first question and theme around what is a macro or micro trend you're seeing for 2024 for retention efforts. So I'll go ahead and start this off from the Justuno perspective, which is a mix of personalization, but to the max and at various points, not just gathering it, but using it effectively and strategically. And then I anticipate this being going along with more of a micro trend of AR and VR on websites, which maybe you've seen that on Amazon already, which is like a classic call out to Amazon and just what they're doing. But we've seen requests come in for this type of functionality on websites, which totally makes sense. Having either a product feel like it's in your presence, or like if you're trying on lipstick, that's my favorite thing to do, and just seeing if it's the right color. So it's like already giving people that ability to overcome their objections in their own time, but also like way faster when they're able to see that video and that personalized effect. And when you know what someone is testing or kind of what they're into, using that personalization will help in your retention efforts in your channels further on once they're off site or off of whatever channel they're shopping on, like social commerce, for example. So that's what I'm thinking trending wise, a lot of personalization, a lot of putting someone like letting them see how something may fit or work for them. I would love to throw it over to Tenuity for your thoughts on this.
Sure thing, SJ. I do want to add though that your point about AR and VR. I mean, we have clients in like that sell glasses or sunglasses. I feel like that has really helped with like conversion rates, right? And then also like if it's a furniture company. So anyway, y'all know that part. But I guess like as far as like macro trends go, so this has been a trend for a while now, but it's becoming even more important with like the cookieless future that's eventually going to come and will very likely happen in 2024. But the importance of growing your email list and so the retention conversation is becoming even bigger. So you guys are doing the right thing by being here. So I kind of took a step back with that macro trend because it does go beyond retention, but more so like the importance of retention. But with that, AI has also become a huge topic of conversation this year. And I think there is going to be a growing skepticism among consumers. So that just means that we have to be more authentic as brands, as advertisers to our consumers. Like brand building, doing what we're saying we're going to do. And I know we're going to go into more of that later. But yeah, just being authentic and really owning your brand is going to be really big in 2024.
I love that trend. Yes. I think the AI for sure, like we come from kind of that marketing side and like the using of it, but now it's getting back to the consumer and like they're seeing their own trends of experiencing it across many, many retailers, many channels. So that's a great point. I feel like myself, I'm getting that way too. Like I'm like, who wrote this? Where's this
Same,
from?
right?
Cool. I would love to hear from Iterable on this. What are you thinking? I know we're sending a lot of data back and forth.
Yeah. Well, actually, I wanted to kind of piggyback, Diane, to your point about the cookieless future, and in a similar light with Apple's ongoing email privacy policy changes to really better protect users, including users like us. I feel like a macro trend that we've already started to see, but are seeing more brands change how they're measuring engagement, because prior it could have been through open rates, but now that open rates have really been inflated, we're seeing more brands look at a much more concise level down to clicks and conversions. And I can see that be a continued fashion as Apple continues to make these changes. I also kind of have thoughts that are a bit separate outside of, just marketing and segmentation. I think some micro trends that we're going to see over the next year are the continued use of buy now, pay later. I'm sure a lot of the marketplaces who are on the call today, like you might have a ton of customers who've leveraged that over the cyber holiday season, but it seems like it's here to stay for, I would say, at least the next year. It really gave customers the ability to make those holiday purchases, and it did help bolster the cyber holiday success we saw a few weeks ago. In fact, it was really interesting. I didn't think that buy now, pay later was going to have such a heavy impact on cyber holiday, but it contributed to over $940 million in
Wow.
GMV. But why I think it might be micro is just because it poses a lot of risks for those who are financially insecure. Happy to go dive into that topic further, but there's definitely reasons why it might not have enough runway down the road. And to that point also, another micro trend I see, and I feel like we're going to have Jake from Treat talk about it a little bit more, but users are becoming more conscious of how their purchases can impact the climate. And so I can see brands maybe marketing more to have the image or sharing how they're being carbon neutral or how they're sustainable, including that messaging and advertising to increase or reduce their efforts of emissions. There's things that we're going to see on the other side of that too, because as we know, Walmart and Kohl's recently got hit with multi-million-dollar fines because they were advertising that some of their products were made out of bamboo, but when in fact it was made out of polyester. So really interesting things there.
Yes, very
yeah.
interesting.
Yeah. And then one more. Okay. Macro, I can see a full customer experience from A to Z being a big focal point. We know Amazon has been really pivotal in making sure the customer is happy from when they land on the site all the way to returns and things like that from the customer service aspect. So we're really starting to tell our brands here at Iterable, how are you evaluating it through your user's lens from when they receive not only the email, through every click through the site, through the final consumer experience.
That's awesome, Katie. I love all of those with the buy now, pay later. I agree with what your points are saying. I feel like it just had so much time to build up, and it like kind of built up to the perfect seasonal moment where everyone is feeling comfortable enough to use it. Right. But now that you're saying like they've got limited runway, I'm like, yeah, like it can only do so much, right? To overcome that type of objection when it comes to pricing or feeling comfortable with that, that way. But I mean, we'll leave it to those services to see kind of how they end up pitching it and what perks or other like services they tend to offer. I like Klarna, if everyone's heard of them. They like will actually promote the website or their retailers on their own kind of marketplace and help them shine there. So at least I love that aspect.
Yeah,
that's awesome. Thank you, Katie. I'd love to throw it to you, Sarah, from Yotpo on your trends you're thinking.
Yeah, I think for the buy now, pay later, the only thing I would say to that too is that there is this inflection point of like environment with like in terms of financial environment and also with the market and then seeing what's going to happen. So I think the next few months will be very telling because I think people have, said, yeah, I'll pay that later. I'll pay that later. And I think the economy is still, I think a little bit challenging right now. So I am curious to see what the new year looks like with all of these great opportunities for all of this purchasing power that happened during this Black Friday, Cyber Monday, but the realization of that will come the next couple months. So I think that'll be really interesting to see what kind of data points we get from that. And specifically any financial analyst that I see is always like, oh, I don't know how this is going to turn out, but we're hoping for the best for a lot of us. But it's great for, being able to plan out, budget, do all those things that I think is really important. And offer. So one of the things that I was going to say is that customers are really want like convenience, flexibility, and control, right? So the idea is that in 2024, you want to be able to stop your subscription whenever you want, be able to change, add in things to cart, being able to have the flexibility of the product, getting, more convenience. So, purchase, very in one click, suggested for new products, those types of things. So that still is going to be number one, I think, in what everyone is looking for as it relates to like trends and retention efforts for 2024. Yeah. I think also nothing is still not going to replace a good brand with product awareness. It won't replace D2C. So really people are looking for convenience. We all are Amazon evangelists, and that we're used to getting things so quick. And so while yes, you want to support great brands and great brand awareness and give back and be eco-friendly and all these things, if it comes down to convenience or direct to consumer ease, that's going to be still a trend that we're going to be continuing to see, and even more so now. I think some consolidation of I think tech is going to happen in 2024, and so you'll see whatever's going to be most convenient, whatever's going to give the customer the best journey. That's what we're going to see continuing. Adoption of new products or categories that will become like important measures for retention for brands. So an example would be like looking into what spaces make sense for the brand as it relates to I think what makes sense for the business. So if you know your brand really well, you know your audience really well, it's being able to get them to adopt new products or categories based off of, really what we're seeing in the retention space. And I think that's going to be super important for, this coming year. And then it's going to tie into AI and automation. It'll give marketers more time to be like creative and flexible and innovative to be able to do that. But one thing we really measure and see for retention is if your repeat purchasers are coming back, more than the percentage is 50% or above. And so watching like that retention really focus, like everything I heard from all of our agency partners, all of our merchants that were in place was that, top of funnel new customer acquisition was down Black Friday, Cyber Monday, and retention was outperforming everyone, right? So seeing that trend over and over again, I think it's going to continue in 2024. So that's what I think we'll see from a macro and a micro trend.
Heck yeah. Yeah. Everyone kind of saw the benefit of using that zero and first party data nicely, right? And they were able to get that retention boosted up for the new year. I love that, Sarah. Thank you. And I'll take it to you, Brandon, for your thoughts on this.
Yeah, one thing that I think is really interesting, and this is something that I first started to notice like when I was ordering Christmas presents, actually, Black Friday sales, that kind of thing, and a little before. Some of the really big e-commerce giants are starting to ship a lot more slowly than they were. Which is just, for example, Amazon Prime has been doing 2 day shipping for a while, but now sometimes it'll take more than a week to get to you. I thought maybe this is like just a thing that's happening to me. Like I'm between Nashville and Atlanta, not in a huge metropolitan area. Maybe it's just me, but it's actually a larger trend that's going on. A lot of places are affected by this. I'm seeing some heads shaking on the call. Maybe there's some people in the chat that have experienced this as well. And it's not just Amazon, it's a lot of these bigger places, which is interesting because it actually opens up an opportunity for small, mid-sized businesses to be able to actually ship as fast, if not faster, than some of the big places that we've come to associate with fast shipping. So if you're looking for customer retention, one of the easiest things you can do is just get your packages out to people quicker than some of these other bigger companies are. What happens is once it leaves a fulfillment center or the e-commerce operator's office, the carriers take care of it, and they're not taking much longer than they normally would. Postal Service, UPS, FedEx, you just have to get the orders out the door quicker. And that's it. Which is just, it's such a, it sounds like such a minor and easy to miss thing, but it's a huge opportunity just to take advantage of right there. There's a lot of statistics, you can look it up online. Depending on where you find it, you'll find a statistic usually between 60 and 70% of people expect the package within 3 business days of when they order it. Very, very consistent across the board. I've seen this over the last several years. The other thing I've been noticing a lot of, which I think most of you actually just touched on already, but it's the eco-friendly operations. We're seeing a lot of that in fulfillment too.
Yeah.
Like I can actually see the physical evidence of this when I'm able to visit on site at Fulfill Right. A lot more people are using eco-friendly packaging made of materials that are as simple as like paper and cardboard. Sometimes you'll see some plastic alternatives that are made out of, it's always some kind of like plant-based thing, something like that, usually with a fancy name, but we're seeing more and more of that lately. And there's an enormous amount of data from these big consulting firms like McKinsey and that sort of thing that'll back it up too. I wrote down a quote that stuck out to me saying that products that make ESG related claims have averaged 28% cumulative growth over the last 5 years versus 20% for products that have made no such claims. It's interesting because consumers are not only paying attention to this, not only do they say they care about it, but they're actually spending more money on brands that focus on e-commerce, focus on eco-friendliness in their e-commerce, meaning that if you just do things like take away single-use plastic and use biodegradable boxes and stuff like that, huge opportunity there.
Heck yes, Brandon. We've been seeing that type of messaging, I think, just build up and be more consistent. And it's one thing to like have it on your site and have it in a cool banner, which is what I would recommend, right? Putting all that in a banner that we focus on that. And then like actually holding the product and like, oh yeah, this is like environmentally friendly, eco-friendly, like they're considering it. that just extends nicely into the next engagement that someone may have with your brand or like any channel that they may be in. Fabulous points, everyone. I love this one. I feel like this one took a little bit longer than I thought, but these are some really amazing trends.
Actually, Stephanie, do you mind if I weigh in on this one as well?
Oh, yes, yes. I'm sorry, Jake, go for it.
All
Sorry
good.
about
I
that.
also like everyone's talking about sustainability. I'm like dying to talk about sustainability. Like I'm kind of like the sustainability guy by being in resale. And so I was actually going to talk about more about like how a little bit about what Sarah was talking about in terms of how the focus really is on like retention and loyalty over acquisition channels and what that's doing for brands. But I think especially given the focus from some other panelists just talking about sustainability, that I would just like triple click on sustainability and all of the ways that brands are actually doing like more meaningful things to drive sustainability. And so I just posted about this recently, but like my dream is a world where brands don't have to use the word eco-friendly, circularity, sustainability, etc., and that their actions speak louder than that. And so there's all these programs and resources and technologies and like solution providers that can help brands actually just be more sustainable, and customers understand that. And so that's one thing that I think we'll see more of is like true sustainability and less greenwashing. So like, what are the things that brands are actually doing authentically to where they don't need to scream the words sustainability from a rooftop, but customers intuitively understand that, relate to that on a deeper level, and then stay with them over time.
Yeah.
And then from a micro trend standpoint, like I would also be remiss if I didn't talk about resale. I think we're at the very like entry point of resale where more and more brands are choosing resale, but we still have probably like maybe 200 or 250 or so brands that are doing resale today, which is about 3x year-over-year growth over the last couple of years. And we're just seeing that trend continue, right? Like ideally this gets to a point where and starting to get there where resale is becoming table stakes for brands. And what I mean by resale for folks in the attendee chat that aren't as familiar is basically just like offering your customers the ability to resell their items in like the quickest, easiest way for cash or credit back to the brand. And so we often talk about resale as like circularity with product, of course, but also like a circular customer journey. So like, how do you keep and maintain and grow those customers over time using sustainability efforts that are actually like substantial, not so much greenwashing?
Yeah. And I like what you said, like the consumers know it's possible. They're seeing it with other brands, if not your competitors, like this eco-friendly term that I know you don't want to hear, Jake. It's like it goes beyond industry. It's like hopefully everyone can do that if you're doing anything selling.
It's too easy. Like there are all these low weight ways of doing it, you know, and there's very clear ways that you can have a really high impact by making just a few quick changes. And so it's the expectation is definitely gonna be there.
Yeah. Hopefully a New Year's resolution that will just go forever if you start it now and like go through that discovery period. Highly encourage that. Thank you, everyone. Those are great. I just had a quick slide here on examples. You'll get this, Jack, so you can see, but these are just examples of what we've kind of talked about, like using data, trends on personalization and targeting across the funnel. And these are pop-up examples that we see on site. So here you've got a tracking page, for example, with opt-ins, product recommendations, banners, and we're seeing trends around just more immediate actions on site. So when someone actually adds something to their cart, has an add to cart click, or we see their cart like has numbers in it, we're showing them items to give them a free gift that also just adds something to their cart. So a lot more adoption is happening of messaging on site that has the like a physical action to it rather than just like taking them somewhere else. But with that, just taking them somewhere else, we do see a prioritization of navigation, helping someone navigate further on your website, which addresses that high bounce rate, maybe just exiting on pages that you would like them to not exit right and keep exploring, kind of not to get stuck on your site, which Solly Baby does a wonderful example of that. And yeah, some great examples for us. I'll hop into our next question here. So question 2, what relationship building and personalization techniques are right for my visitors? This feels very like there's a right or wrong. There's no right or wrong, totally from our point of view and like how you choose to frame all of this together. So Diane, I'd love to start with you from Tenuity on this one, what you're thinking.
Yeah, sure thing. And Yeah, so it really just comes down to how well you know your customers, because to your point, SJ, like the right techniques can be different for every brand. So I feel like the best way to illustrate this is through a case study and an example. So here at Tenuity, we work with a client. It's a baby equipment company, so think like strollers or car seats. And we know that the consumers that we target through our acquisition efforts are first-time parents, and those are the customers. So what we've done is we send emails and personalized ads following their stage in parenthood. So, for example, if they purchase a stroller, 1 year later, once the child is a toddler, we'll go ahead and cross market them a wagon, which is for toddlers. And so it's been an effective way of keeping our customers engaged with the brand. And so this is an example of personalization where we follow the customer stage of life or parenting journey and cross-selling them what makes sense. So hopefully that example is helpful, but obviously it can be different for every brand depending on what you sell. But what I want to drive home here is just knowing your customer, knowing your target customer, how they behave, and what is most valuable to them. And that's what you use to create a strategy on the messaging and how you personalize.
Yes, I'm like writing that down, like stage of life. I just feel like that's such a good way for brands to look at targeting and segmenting when it's just like I could go this way and I could go this way and I have this channel and that's great. But it's like, yeah, the stage of life I feel like can help determine some really solid personas to go after. Nice.
100%.
Too cool. I'll throw it over to Iterable for some feedback on this one.
Yeah, exactly what Diane said, utilizing that first party user data, gender, clothing, city, size, things like that, and behavior data are going to be really important just by even looking at the category landing page or making sure you're capturing the item page a user is looking at or favoriting a specific item, typing in the search result. That's going to be incredibly helpful to power any relevant product recommendations in your messaging to them. I thought this was really cool. So I recently celebrated my birthday and I got, we all get a ton of birthday emails and I am that person who's like, I just want to see, what is everyone sending me?
Yeah.
I'm just curious, even if it's like Smoothie King's going to give me a free smoothie. I don't even know. But I got a really great birthday email from a brand called Mesh Key, which I'm really loyal to them. And I really liked it because the personalization just felt unique to me and that it said in the birthday campaign, it gave me the $20 voucher, which is great. But in the body of the email, it said shop birthday outfits. I just loved how intentional that campaign was. It wasn't just, hey, it's your birthday, we're throwing you a coupon. Well, here are outfits we've curated together for a night out for your birthday or whatever event you want to do. So I really loved that level of personalization and how they're thinking of it in the user's lens of it being event specific. I think another couple of efforts that are really important to consider that are not even personalization related, but they're more along the lines of how often you're messaging your users and the types of messages they want to receive. So it's really important that you do have a preference center because it gives your users the control of the type of messages they do want to receive and setting some type of frequency limits so you're not fatiguing them after an already high volume messaging season that we've had in the cyber holiday. And then lastly, I think this is very industry specific, but when you're deciding how you want to message your users, just letting your customers know how many messages they could be receiving in a day, week, or month. That way you're giving them a clear guidance on what they're opting into, and it keeps your brand compliant.
Oh, those are such solid points. Compliancy, of course. And then just, yeah, bringing it back to letting them decide. Yes, you can gather all this data, but just showing them exactly what they're kind of getting into is nice. And perfect timing too, as everyone maybe is like post sale time in December, showing them email preferences again or seeing like what new things they may be into. Lovely. And your birthday example, it just brought me back to like the stage of life situation and they freaking nailed it. I have like 4 birthday outfits typically for one day. So I'm just like, I would be clicking on all of them.
That's amazing. I love that.
Yeah. I'm a birthday gal. Cool. Let's throw it over to Sarah at Yotpo for this one.
Yeah, so I mean, to tie along with what everyone has been saying in terms of like personalization is really key and different techniques for visitors that are going to your site. So we recently did a survey. More than half of consumers, 54%, said that they would most likely to purchase if messages they receive were personalized, right? So you can already see from a metrics perspective that that's the case. But further, if a brand like knows them really well, it influences their decision by 82.5% to purchase again. So tells you how strong and compelling that is if it is a really personalized journey as it relates to being able to segment the audience to exactly what it is. And what I think a lot of times too, when I end up doing an audit on a site, I sign up for, one of a potential partner of ours or merchant of ours that's going to work with us, and I look on their site and I sign up for the journey, and I realize I'm in the same segment as everyone else. Maybe I purchase a product or two and I'm not segmented accordingly. Maybe it could be location wise, where I'm, based in Southern California versus New York, where it's like a skincare brand that's, saying, hey, you need to hydrate from the sun because it's going to be 78 today in LA. It's crazy in December. And then yesterday was like, very cold compared to my New York friends that are, in a very cold season. But if you're suggesting product to me that's going to really relate differently, or it's geared towards a winter consumer of, your skin's super dry, does this look like this? So making sure that you're able to personalize that journey to what makes sense. Nothing worse than getting a non-personalized journey on SMS or email where it's not targeted correctly. And I got one the other day and it was asking me if I was looking still for wedding dresses. And I'm like, how the heck did I get this? I am single at this age and I'm like, why am I getting wedding dress segmentation? It was the worst. I sent it to this prospect. It's like, this is why you need help. I'm like, look at this journey we're getting, right?
Yeah.
So being able to based on that. But what I love is like, if you look at like Netflix, right? So Netflix, I give you an prime examples. Like when you're like, hey, based on your viewing, you're probably going to like this documentary on how to survive, being murdered in, this area of the country, because I am all about these like crime docs. And so it really does personalize my journey. And then it allows me to like thumb up or down, right? So it's the same kind of aspect on when you're actually shopping, is you want the consumer to be able to, you'll see if they're clicking into that product. If you suggested this product, it's also making it better for the journey of the other consumers down the line. So I would say making sure that that is really personalized to like birthday, if they viewed certain, products you want a likely to do, who's amazing at that is Il Makiage. They are incredible. I got the product when I saw an Instagram ad because I was like, okay, who doesn't want smooth skin? And I see on all these influencers, using it. And then it's amazing how they upsell as you're checking out products that you do. They get me every time. I'm like, no, I'm not getting anything else. I'm just getting this one foundation. And somehow they're like, well, people who like purchases are likely to purchase. And I'm like, dang it, they knew it. I'm like, now I've just bought 3 more things. So they're incredible about personalizing that journey, that it really gets in a really unique place. I did see a new prospect that really got see, I knew I wasn't the only one, Diane. I'm like, there are other women that are falling for everything on this. But I'm like, what? I'm like, a primer, or foundation, that holiday party's coming up. I need to look flawless. So all these things that I think like really iterate. And I also saw this one ad that I was wowed by. And it was a necklace. I was searching for jewelry, I think probably at one point, or clicking on something, but it personalized the necklace to have my name on it. As on the ad on Instagram. I thought that was incredible. I was like, bravo, whoever did this like retargeting, this is incredible. So being able to leverage things like that will efficiently get people to come back again. And I remember that product, and every time it comes up, I'm like, should I get that? Like, it's just a smart way to market and also help to really personalize the journey to make them, I think, really get to that purchase much faster.
Yes, Sarah, you're so killer. You just hit like 4 different channels in that. So let's just all note that it was like way more than one touch point for her to get like this. So I love that. That's like the modern shopping. Yeah.
It's products. That's the problem too. So it's like there's so much to help consumers with, and I'm like, you can touch on so many things. So maybe that's part of it.
It's easy. Thank you, Sarah. You're the best. Cool. I'd love to throw it over to Jake from Treat on this one. And see again.
Thanks, Steph. I'll be pretty brief. I think like philosophically, when it comes to relationship building, like in its very simplest form, treating your customer relationship like a real relationship, like wow, it's so amazing. But it's very true when you really like break it down. Like all these things that Sarah is talking about are building a relationship means being personal, knowing somebody, giving first, like not asking for too much. Like all of these lessons are very simple lessons. And now in the day and age of having all these like solutions to know who your customers are, how to reach them, like what to using AI for personal recommendations, like all these different abilities, you kind of don't have any excuse not to have these things. Yeah, definitely a huge belief in give first. And then just double clicking on what Sarah said, in terms of knowing where they're coming from and catering the message for them. One very specific use case for us is we drive a lot of new customer acquisition for resale. About 40% of shoppers that shop a brand's resale site are new to the brand. And so they're using this channel as a way to reach a new type of customer, which means you can't talk to that brand the same, or that new customer the same as a person that purchased a new product on your main site for the first time, or that signed up for your newsletter. And so our brands are sending like specific welcome email flows that pertain to their specific purchase on their resale site when they're welcoming them back to the main brand. And so obviously so many other examples you can think of, where trying to think of where is that customer coming in. Are they buying an item? Are they signing up? Where are they signing up from? Through what program? And then something pretty cool, I think Sarah also mentioned, we have an integration with Yotpo. Like, think about ways that you can gift things to your customers. And so like, obviously offering a resale is a way that you're like gifting them something. You're giving something. Then you can give them points, right, for certain actions, and drive a lot of like building a relationship over time by doing that. I know I said I'd be brief. That was a little bit longer than I wanted to, but when I got going, I just couldn't stop.
That was so good. Yeah, no, that's good. You reminded me of this campaign. I think it was this summer, maybe last summer, but Lululemon was, they were gonna they wanted to get your dupe pants, because there's all these Amazon dupes, and they would replace it with the real thing, the Lululemon. So I love that view on, like, I don't know what they did with the pants afterwards, but hopefully they did something good with it. But like that kind of resale opportunity sounds cool, to stand out and kind of like make some noise.
Absolutely. And they're like providing real value there. That's like, that's the way that you build an actual relationship.
Yeah. And just like standing up to what they're claiming, right? And what they say their products are and do. Yeah. Love it. Brandon, what are your thoughts on this one?
So when it comes to building relationships online, just e-commerce orders are kind of interesting in general, because you get two chances to make that first impression. The first being when you actually make that sale, or when they see an ad or something like that online and they first encounter the brand. And the second is when they, kind of forgot that they made a purchase and that it shows up on the doorstep a few days later.
Yeah.
And one thing that can just really help people remember who you are, that you exist, and that you're doing something worth remembering, is just make sure that post-purchase experience is really good. So like when they get that box, if it's a kind of thing that you can ship and you can put all the branding and packaging on the outside, so they can tell what it is when they first look outside, that's ideal, like to have your brand name there. Just kind of personalize it as much as you can and give people a reason to get excited about the unboxing. So when they open up the packaging, there's not a lot of trash inside. There's just like an item sitting perfectly where it's supposed to be, so that it all looks good and it's easy to get to. Most people will just open it and they will appreciate that it is easy and that it's presented well, and they'll be excited for it. Every once in a while, you'll get somebody who's got 100,000 followers on TikTok who will end up posting under #unboxing, which is your ideal scenario. It's impossible to say how much of a difference all this stuff makes. I mean, good luck trying to track all that down. But we know that when you do focus on that unboxing post-purchase experience, it makes a big difference. And the other one that's really big related to that, to relationship, let's say recovery, no matter what you do, no matter how well you ship things, no matter how well you process your orders, some of them are going to arrive broken, or they're going to arrive they're not going to be quite the right item or something. If you make that return process nice and easy, something that people can make right quickly, the vast majority of people will be willing to buy again, and they'll forgive you for that, as long as you make it easy to make that return when necessary.
Oh yeah. And that's all about like you being present at the moment that they're needing you, right? Whether it's having a phone line, easy email, a really awesome chat situation. You said something, yeah, just like with the whole unboxing scenario, I love a QR code in a package that just can take me back to the site, or like a dedicated landing page that's custom to me. Because with a tool like Justuno, Iterable, Yotpo, we're able to gather that real-time on-site data that you can use for like instant product recommendations, knowing if they're in email or SMS or they're not, to know if you need to get them into like a channel flow. So yeah, QR codes. I feel like that is a way
Yeah.
just to easily keep them in your funnel and not browsing on like TikTok for alternatives, not going to Google for alternatives, just like sticking with you. And great points, Brandon.
And the nice thing about what you said about QR codes, if you forget to do this in your packaging or something like that, you can just send a bunch of flyers over to any order fulfillment center that you're working with. And for like 15, 20 cents each, they'll just put one extra in the box, just sitting on top of whatever is being shipped out. So if you need to make a special page or something for a holiday promotion and you need to do that quickly, very, very easy to get that arranged and just make a upsell with a 15, 20 cent piece of paper.
Oh, that's awesome. Hot tip. Thank you, Brandon. Lovely, guys. I'm gonna get into, I believe I've got, yeah, just an example here as we've been talking about personalizing. We had a quick case study with Tomlinson's selling pet products here in Austin, and then they have their online presence. And we're just seeing zero-party data go to work and really helping that list growth along the way. So not seeing a decline when we're asking for questions, all in the effort to personalizing. We're seeing mobile opt-in and desktop opt-in rates grow. And along with that, kind of mentioned like feeding those other channels. These are the Klaviyo flows that were impacted just by knowing my pup or my cat. And with these flows initiated for like that post-purchase experience, that's just off of one piece of data that we've gathered here. So this one I hope really shows like kind of that effectiveness and at least getting something out there that's on that discovery side of personalizing right now. Which leads into our third question. What's the proper way to segment and market to the newest customers attained to increase customer lifetime value? Again, there's no super duper proper way, but just what we're thinking and what you can really mix together to be ideal for your visitors and your website. So we'll start off with iterable. Katie, what are you thinking on this one?
Well, I haven't any thoughts, but I really truly believe, as we've all, really talked about today, but just it depends on the product or your service that they're buying and where that user is in their journey life cycle. So I guess, for example, if your product is unique in nature or is not, I would say, a typical high household item, I think of things like an Uni pizza oven or a Dyson Airwrap, because I have those things in my life. But a good way to think of how to better, market to these customers is sharing tutorials on how to use these products because they're a little more unique, or recipes or hairstyle trends, accessory products that could enhance a user's use of the product and give you that upsell opportunity. And then most importantly, storytell about the brand to let them know why their purchase is so special. I really loved Diane's case study on the baby equipment company, just really meeting their users at whatever life cycle or life stage that their family is in. It reminds me of a case study we ran with a cosmetics brand that is in Ulta and Sephora. So basically what they found were that new customers were purchasing mini sets just because it gives them the ability to try before they take the plunge and purchase the full size item. So what they ended up doing with Iterable is they set up journeys that are scheduled based on a countdown from when the user ordered the product and delivered against how long it could take them to use that mini product. And once that time frame was up, they would send them an email of like, hey, are you ready to buy the full-size purchase item? Would you like to purchase a bundle? Really giving that user the right time of, oh my God, how did they know that I'm almost done? And meeting their user at that right moment when they're ready to purchase. Thought that was a cool study they did. And then separately, as far as just segmenting and marketing to your newest customers or your users attained, I think this is a great opportunity to break outside the box and just be a little more creative. So this is something that I've really told customers throughout my lifetime as a CSM, but aligning with cultural events is a great opportunity to do that. So meaning you can just get creative with the type of messages you're sending to them. It allows you to do things like, for example, in apparel shopping occasions, of course, we know sometimes those are calendar or event driven, but it can also be functional and social driven. So you can look for ways to be more relevant with your users, not only to just drive that brand loyalty, but also to drive for what that we really care about, which is a second purchase. I think a great brand that I'm very loyal to as well is Crocs. They've done an incredible job at increasing lifetime value with their new customers. I know when I look at them, I would like to think that millennials are their ideal customer, but it also, of course, spans to Gen Z and frontline workers. They use social media trends to like stay very relevant to all of us. They've partnered with amazing singers like the K-pop group aespa and influencers like Brett Minogue to capture a new audience or to cross-sell and promote items. So think of ways outside of traditional marketing efforts. It doesn't necessarily need to be, calendar event driven. You can do it based on functional or social things like Fashion Week. If you're in the apparel industry, using that spring and fall Fashion Week as a nice platform to send new and unique messaging to.
Yes, killer examples. You said Bretman Rock, and that just took me to like, I love him and
All of his
that's like-
chickens.
his whole lifestyle. Yes, that's a dream. And it's just like using that personality, to sell that, and kind of going along with not giving creators and influencers like a really strict guideline on what to do for you, but letting just that personality influence where it takes you, which goes perfectly along with your cultural event statement. Love that. You also mentioned something like along the copy, right? And being creative or testing. I feel like when I brought that up with clients and like what copy we should kind of go through with, it does take some persuading. It takes some like, there's many other people on marketing teams, totally understandable. But like, don't be afraid to test this new group of customers too. A/B testing that copy that can help influence your beginning of the year sales, your next year Black Friday, Cyber Monday, like giving you some data to base that off of. So yeah, I just wanted to call out A/B testing or ABC testing, however much you want to test. Justuno has you covered on that one. And then you touched on mini sets, which I feel like I've just always thought of like sample sets and just like pitching that differently in like mini, like I'll buy anything that is so tiny. So I like that idea. Just like a simple switch on words can help sway like what the testing environment could be for a consumer.
Exactly.
Killer. I love that. Sarah, I'd love to take this over to you now. Your thoughts on the proper way to segment.
Yeah, absolutely. So I always say like you first need to have like clear defined goals and objectives for whatever program, whether that's be a loyalty program or just getting like to repeat purchase for that consumer. If you have like subscriptions, all those things that you need to really define the program to make sure it aligns with both your brand and your customers' desires. And if you don't know, it's a great way to ask them. So it's a great way to learn about your customer this way, right? So you can segment them, you can ask questions in SMS, you can be interactive, you can make sure your other marketing tools are really engaged with them to inform and then to be able to engage and iterate. Loyalty isn't a set it and forget it program. So I would say even if they're new and they just signed up for the first time, you can't just leave them in that journey. You have to figure out what's going to be, think beyond the first points of purchase, but use like tier-based structures and make each perk have a different, by different tiers. So first tier have a different perk than your biggest tier, right? Because you want to incentivize them. Or I also think about like free shipping, early access, beta testing for products. I love that. I'm always happy to beta test. Give me like a sample. Let's try it out and see.
Yeah.
But the other thing that I think is really important is, as I think is like getting to tie it into in-person events, right? So like, I'll give you an example. Healthy Spot is incredible with this. They run this. I have a dog, a rescue dog, anything related to dogs, I'm in for. So they do a great tie-in where they're like, have you signed up for our holiday hang? And you get to like have community. I sign up with them for their loyalty program. I get a discount off my grooming and products. They also suggest tons of products, right? They're really good about tying it into your local community. And I see the events for all the other communities too. So I think it's really important when you're able to kind of drive them into in-store purchases as well as online, right? I use all of that to buy my pup food, all those things that I think really align with making sure that they target me as a dog owner, knowing that I've shown up for their in-person events.
Yeah.
So does your loyalty program to tie in for like omni-channel to get them to increase? I always give an example. So I always say like Olivia just purchased her first product. She leaves like, a positive review and then gets rewarded for that submission. Then she gets a personalized email with AI recommended products, right? So getting her down the journey to really update her loyalty status. And then Olivia's last purchase moves her into the gold tier where she then receives a VIP tier entry to thank her for a loyalty program, right? So you can look at it from that perspective to kind of walk them through the journey as it relates to getting them to that really, I think that long tail approach of getting them to repeat back and again those purchases. But it's having to incentivize them along the way and showing them like where we can get them into that journey and personalizing it accordingly. So those are some of the ways you can segment and kind of market based off of I think just the broader sense of like what is available for each different product line, which could be like if you're only doing SMS. So I would also say too, just one thing to note, loyalty programs aren't necessarily for everyone. If you don't have, if you're not, don't have a big enough list, if you're just building, so you use SMS, I call it a loyalty light program. You can use SMS to segment that way and then target those messaging accordingly and kind of create almost that buzz or drive to get into the tiers. And then you can build that strategy accordingly. So really simple to use, like refer a friend, right? They referred someone, you're going to know that info. We have that free on our site. Like people can sign up and just have that as an option to have free on there to like be able to keep driving and referring. That way, like, hey, they like your product enough that they're referring to friends. Let's segment them accordingly. So, okay, I've talked a lot about that one. I'll stop now.
No, yeah, you killed that one. As someone who likes to refer products, it just feels nice to know that that's available because like I will really talk about your product and try to sell it. I love that, Sarah. Thank you. Cool. Let's throw it over to Jake from Treat. What are your thoughts on this?
I actually wanted to echo a bit of what Katie was mentioning with her examples in terms of like trying to understand the customer journey. Like you can only understand how to market to them if you understand how they're using their product and when you're best going to offer them the next product and what that thing is. Otherwise, you're just wasting your brand equity. So like anyone can send a million marketing emails and have that go off, but you really only have so much attention to give them before they're just completely annoyed. Everybody's inboxes are like obliterated. And a lot of people are even signing up for a lot of SMS. There's just like so much noise going on. And so you have to really stand out by trying to actually understand how someone is using your product and what they might actually like to have in terms of a customer journey. And of course, you can push it and experiment and push it to the limits a bit, but your highest likelihood of conversion is understanding where they're at in that journey and serving them the message at that time. A specific example in the resale space is we've done a lot of analysis on when it's appropriate for a customer to resell an item based on that brand. And so we know for any given brand, how much time will elapse before that brand's item should be ready to be resold, and that our brands are serving them a message that says, hey, hope you're loving your item. If at any point in time you're not, and you're ready to upgrade it to your next one or it's sitting in your closet, here's the path where you can resell it and get credit towards your next one. But they're not blasting that on a monthly basis. They're not doing it 30 days after they receive the item. They might do it 6 months or a year, or 8 months or 3 months, depending on the usage of that item so that they can serve it at the right time.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, I think with personalization and like source data, it's something that's really easy to use because your sources, like they're coming there. I said real time earlier, but in real time. So it can just immediately influence that journey, which at Justuno, we use workflows that can help get someone from like their lead capture to knowing what kind of exit offer they should see to the cart abandoner. So it just feeds the whole rest of like that more immediate engagement with a brand, which someone touched. I think Katie, you touched on engagement being like something people are looking at more, and totally like people are so surprised with the metrics they can see with on-site engagements and just having different touch points on site where it's like engagement, average order value of that workflow or of that pop-up. So you can see all this info. It's definitely available for you to make some decisions off of. Would love to throw it over to Brandon, but feel right on this one.
So I'll keep this fairly short. First, this is not going to surprise anybody who is listening to this webinar, but what seems to move a lot of units in our warehouse from what I've seen, you ask the clients what they're doing, and a lot of it's email marketing, segmentation, lots of educating people on how to use their products, that kind of thing. It works. It's one of the highest ROI types of marketing out there. But I am also noticing that a lot of places are wisely using physical things like marketing inserts inside the packaging, like what I kind of touched on earlier, as well as stuff like guidebooks, physical coupons, and other things that you can do either along with a package or even as a direct mail campaign, because you can't mark a physical coupon in the mail red. You have to actually take it and throw it away. So sometimes you can catch people's attention in that way. And that's another way to keep that relationship going.
Fabulous. Yeah, direct mail. I feel like I've tried to talk about it before, and sometimes you get like people that have tried it or just don't see like maybe different or newer ways to test it out. So a good way to stand out, I think, and to make someone feel like a little more special. Love that, Brandon. I know we're at time. Tenuity, I would love to hear your thoughts on this, Diane. Are you good to stay on for a second longer?
Yeah, I could stay on.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, so as far as like the ways to segment, I feel like everything that everyone has said, honestly, I agree with. I just want to share some kind of like tried and true segments that I think have always worked and we've been able to leverage, especially for our e-commerce brands on the paid media side. So I want to break down 3 lists. So first one is high average order value customers, having that segment because these are the folks that usually have bought full price. Maybe you could even consider them VIP folks that are just loyal to the brand. And then message them with, exclusive access to new products, sneak peeks, and basically make them feel special. I know that like there are some brands, and I know we don't have a ton of time. I also don't want to rush too much, but like I feel like Tom's is one of the first brands that I noticed do this, where they'll send like a special link to like access a sale a few days earlier than the general public, the non-VIP folks. And I feel like to me, like at the time, I think this is many years ago, like I was like, okay, this is cool. Like I'm gonna keep following Tom's. And so yeah, just segmenting out your high average order value list. And then second one is seasonal shoppers. Obviously, we just like are coming down on the Q4 high, but we have a bunch of folks that are gift givers. And so being able to segment that list that we can retarget for next season as gifters. And so these are the folks we might not want to be as aggressive with. And maybe we just focus around like gift messaging or gifting periods. And then lastly, that you could even like narrowed that down further from seasonal shoppers to just Black Friday, Cyber Monday, right? So those customers that just converted on or purchased Black Friday, Cyber Monday. And so those are the folks theoretically that are more sensitive to discounts and are more likely to purchase during that time. So yeah, you can also market them throughout the year with discounts and whenever you have your promotion. So I just wanted to highlight those 3 lists because obviously it can be different for every brand, but those 3 I see are the most like tried and true. And then if you do have paid media management, these are great lists that you could just layer onto your campaigns, and you can, you let Google Ads, Meta, TikTok, whatever, kind of optimize towards these lists, and maybe like the high AOV customers. Now I'm kind of talking towards like revenue now and how we can kind of maximize sales for longer customer lifetime value. So if you have like maybe like a performance max campaign and you're targeting, which also has a strong retargeting aspect to it, maybe that's a matter of like targeting your high AOV customers there and having like a bigger ROI, ROAS goal. So anyway, I don't mean to get into like the too technical pieces, but I just want to highlight that because there are ways to leverage these lists, not only on life cycle, email, SMS, but also within the paid media realm too, which I don't want to forget about. So there's it. That's it.
That's a great, yeah. I think that was a perfect note on the paid media. Absolutely don't want to forget about that continued segmentation and all of that, having a really central spot, like whether it's your website or a different marketplace, like using that as the source of truth for all of your segments is really key. So however it is that you're sorting out your messaging or your banners on site, which is some simple messaging, like to Diane's example about AOV, you can use like continued banners on site to help someone know how close they are to that next threshold that you'd like to get them to. And by targeting based off of what they've already been purchasing, if they've ever purchased like a max of 200, maybe that's your next tier. So kind of getting more niche or broad, but those targeting options are available to you with Justuno and targeting behavioral and based off of that zero and first party data. I love it. So we are at time. I won't keep my speakers here forever. I'll just give everyone a sneak peek of what we'll recap in the following or the follow-up recording email. So we've got one last question that I'll send everyone's response to in our follow-up email. We've got another case study, some examples of banner messaging. That's a really easy win if you're considering retargeting all of those segments. I love the ones Diane pointed out, like tried and true for sure. And then we've got final comments that I will include in the recording email too, and just what everyone was going to share for their favorite retention tool, resource, or example from the wild. I feel like we've talked a lot about that. And finally, in case anyone wanted to grab the QR code, these are the special offers that I will also send in the recording email for you. But feel free to reach out to anyone individually. They're all going to remember this webinar and be able to know what you're talking about. But other than that, thank you all so much for joining. I love chatting with you all, and I'll just make sure chat is good to go, but appreciate everyone's time.